How did the US truly shatter the Axis war machine in World War II? Not just with tanks, but with the most devastating, mathematically precise artillery arsenal in human history. From the highly mobile airborne Pack Howitzers to the earth-shattering 240mm Black Dragon siege guns. This is the complete technical DNA of American World War II artillery. We begin with United States field artillery. This was the backbone of American fire support, driven by mobility, mass production, and the highly classified Fire Direction Center System, 75mm Pack Howitzer M1, also known as the M1919. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 1,250 feet per second, pushing a 14-pound high-explosive shell out to 9,610 yards. This weapon was highly specialized. It was engineered to be rapidly dismantled into 6 to 9 distinct mule loads. When deployed with airborne infantry, the entire howitzer was dropped from C-47 transport planes in 9 separate, heavily padded cylindrical paracrates. 105mm Howitzer M2A1. This was the absolute workhorse of the US Army. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 1,550 feet per second, with a maximum range of 12,325 yards, firing a 33-pound projectile. It utilized a unique semi-fixed ammunition system. Artillerymen could manually adjust the internal powder charge by removing any of the 7 modular increment bags to perfectly calculate the ballistic trajectory for high-angle indirect or direct fire. 105mm Howitzer M3. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 1,020 feet per second with a maximum range of 8,300 yards. This weapon was essentially a Frankenstein design meant to save weight for infantry cannon companies. Ordnance engineers physically shortened the standard M2A1 barrel by 27 inches and mated it directly onto the lighter split-trail carriage of the 75mm Pack Howitzer. 4.5-inch Gun M1. Technical specifications: a 114mm caliber weapon boasting a muzzle velocity of 27,275 feet per second and a range of 21,100 yards. While incredibly powerful, it shared the exact same M1 split-trail carriage as the 155mm howitzer, creating massive logistical confusion on the front lines. Furthermore, its 55-pound shell was manufactured from low-grade steel, resulting in a notoriously poor fragmentation pattern compared to the 105mm. 155mm Howitzer M1, the standard medium-heavy support piece for U.S. forces. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 1,850 feet per second with a range of 16,350 yards. Utilizing a complex stepped thread, interrupted screw breech. To fire this weapon accurately, the gun crew had to mechanically jack the entire carriage up and lower it onto a heavy central firing pedestal. This removed the massive weight from the pneumatic tires, allowing a steep 63-degree maximum elevation. 155mm Gun M1 and M2, universally known as the Long Tom. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 2,800 feet per second, hurling a 95-pound bunker-busting shell up to 25,715 yards, or nearly 15 miles. The massive split-trail carriage featured a unique 2-axle, 8-wheel bogie system. When emplaced for a fire mission, the entire wheel assembly was mechanically raised, dropping the steel belly of the gun carriage perfectly flush against the earth to absorb the immense Byland recoil. 8-inch Howitzer M1. Technical specifications: a 203mm caliber with a muzzle velocity of 1,950 feet per second and a range of 18,510 yards. Despite firing a massive 200-pound shell, it was regarded by field commanders as the single most inherently accurate artillery piece in the entire U.S. arsenal. It was highly prized for precision counter-battery fire against hidden German artillery positions. 8-inch Gun M1. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 2,840 feet per second, reaching out to an astonishing 35,600 yards with a 240-pound projectile. This ultra-long-range siege weapon generated such catastrophic internal chamber pressures that it suffered from extreme barrel wear. A strictly documented tube lifespan was rated for only 400 equivalent full-charge rounds before the rifling was so degraded that accuracy was completely lost and the barrel had to be replaced. 200mm Howitzer M1, officially nicknamed the Black Dragon. Technical specifications: the largest field piece deployed by the U.S. Army during the Second World War. Muzzle velocity of 2,300 feet per second. Delivering an earth-shattering 360-pound shell up to 25,255 yards. Emplacing this behemoth was a heavy engineering project. It required two massive 38-ton high-speed tractors just to transport it. Field assembly required a dedicated 20-ton truck-mounted crane and a massive excavated recoil pit dug deep into the earth. Next, we analyze United States anti-tank artillery. These were dedicated towed weapons explicitly meant to engage advancing German armor. 37mm Gun M3. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 2,900 feet per second, capable of penetrating 36mm of face-hardened armor at 500 yards. It was one of the very few U.S. towed pieces lightweight enough to be actively fired from the wheel. In emergency ambushes, desperate crews could fire the weapon accurately without needing to permanently dig the heavy steel trail spades into the dirt. 57mm Gun M1. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 2,700 feet per second, penetrating 74mm of armor at 1,000 yards. Because this gun was an exact license-built copy of the British 6-pounder designed purely for tank killing, the U.S. Ordnance Department initially refused to manufacture high-explosive rounds for it. This severely crippled its tactical utility against entrenched infantry until late 1944. 3-inch Gun M5. Technical specifications: a 76.2mm weapon firing an armor-piercing capped shell at 2,600 feet per second. This gun was created by mating a heavy anti-aircraft barrel to a standard howitzer carriage. It weighed over 4,800 pounds, making the trail weight so oppressive that a standard gun crew found it nearly impossible to physically pivot the carriage in the mud to track fast-moving, flanking German panzer units. Moving to United States anti-aircraft artillery. These were vital air defense networks that were frequently leveled for devastating direct fire against ground targets. 40mm automatic Gun M1, the legendary Bofors. Technical specifications: an automatic rate of fire of 120 rounds per minute, with a maximum altitude ceiling of 23,000 feet, unlike the manual crank European versions. The primary U.S. Army variant was uniquely wired to the highly advanced Kerosene director system. This utilized electric-hydraulic servo motors to automatically traverse and elevate the gun based on a separate analog computer's targeting data. 3-inch anti-aircraft Gun M3. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 2,800 feet per second with a maximum ceiling of 31,300 feet. Its primary tactical failing was its heavy mound. To emplace the gun, crews had to entirely remove the wheel bogies and lower the massive cruciform mount onto manual leveling jacks. This made rapid deployment or retreat under fire virtually impossible. 90mm anti-aircraft gun M1, M2, and M3. Technical specifications: the premier American heavy anti-aircraft gun. Muzzle velocity of 2,700 feet per second, reaching 33,800 feet, with a 23-pound high-explosive shell. When paired with microwave radar and the highly classified variable time proximity fusée in 1944, U.S. 90mm batteries protecting Allied ports achieved a staggering 89% kill probability against inbound German V-1 flying bombs. 120mm anti-aircraft gun M1, known as the Stratosphere Gun. Technical specifications: muzzle velocity of 3,100 feet per second, capable of hitting high-altitude bombers at 57,500 feet. To safely manage the catastrophic recoil of launching a 50-pound shell into the stratosphere, the gun utilized a highly complex hydro-pneumatic variable recoil mechanism. This automatically shortened the recoil stroke at high elevations, preventing the massive steel breech block from slamming violently into the ground. Finally, we uncover United States coastal defense and railway artillery. These were colossal engineering marvels designed to protect the American homeland from naval invasion. 16-inch Gun M1919 and Mark II. Technical specifications. A 406mm Colossus with a muzzle velocity of 2,700 feet per second, capable of firing a 2,700-pound armor-piercing shell over 25 miles. The propellant powder charge alone weighed 824 pounds. This powder had to be strictly loaded in 6 separate raw silk bags. Silk burns completely instantly, without leaving smoldering cloth residue inside the chamber, which would prematurely detonate the next loading sequence and destroy the gun. 14-inch M1919 Railway Gun. Technical specifications. A 356mm gun firing at 2,800 feet per second, out to 44,400 yards. Because it was mounted directly to a railway car, the massive breech would strike the steel tracks at high firing angles. To achieve its maximum 50-degree elevation, combat engineers had to physically excavate a deep recoil pit directly beneath the track bed, between the railroad ties, prior to clearing the weapon to fire. 8-inch gun, M1888 on railway mount. Technical specifications. A retrofitted Spanish-American War-era gun with a maximum range of 14,000 yards, firing these heavy weapons at a 90-degree traverse, perpendicular to the train tracks, without first sinking heavy, reinforced outriggers into the surrounding earth, ran the severe risk of capsizing and completely derailing the entire multi-ton train car from the sheer, unmitigated recoil force. This is the mechanical catalog of Allied victory. The extreme engineering, the lethal ballistics, and the raw firepower that define an era of industrial warfare. Subscribe and engage the notification bell for more classified technical deep dives into the machines of war.